I'm waiting to see one that says, we don't give a crap. Never have we did before, and we don't now.
Yeah, well,
nobody's going to say that, I wish somebody would be honest. Like, you know what? I didn't give a crap about that data until just now.
I thought I was doing enough. That was it.
Now I realize I was wrong.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax, HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to episode 476 of the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims of HIPAA for MSPs, and joining me is Donna Grindle of Carton. What's up, Donna?
Shocking that I'm here yet again.
I know, every week. Almost.
Yeah, for us anyway.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going on vacation and you can have a guest.
Yeah, we never do it that way. But we just have to be a little bit more creative and have some more guests on. I guess people prefer us to have guests sometimes. They get sick of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know at least two people that get sick of us pretty often. I won't mention any names.
No, they know who they are.
At least one of them is a listener.
Never mind. All right, so moving on.
All right, yeah. So in today's episode, we're going to cover quite a few things, which is beginning to be typical, right? Like, there's not one thing. There's so many things coming at us. It's like we can't pick one thing often. So we're like, it all kind of fits together. And so we're going to talk about everything that kind of fits. And if it doesn't fit, we'll save it for another episode.
Yeah. Put it somewhere else.
Yeah. So we do try to group them together, but gosh, just always something happening. So we're going to be talking about court ruling. This happened over the OCR, HHS with web tracking and all that. And we'll talk about a radiology IT vendor that got hacked. Not good news for some practices. And, all kind of stuff. I think near the end, we're talking about dental practices having issues. Yeah. So if you know somebody, because we know dentists don't listen to anything privacy and security related, but if you happen to know somebody who does, then send this to them. It might be of interest.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah. I read an article not that long ago, and it actually said in the article that dentists and dental offices are notorious for not doing anything related to cybersecurity. And I was like, not just my observation, apparently.
Yeah. It's a lot of people's.
Yeah.
And including, apparently, attackers have started. They've noticed it, at least. So that's not a good sign either.
No, not at all. All right. We're going to dive right in. But before we do, I want to say thanks to those who listen, who leave reviews. We much appreciate it. If you haven't left a review, go do that. That's the price of admission. If you don't pay, we'll kick you out.
It does help us out, but
it does.
We need all the help we can get right now.
Yep. And share this out. We appreciate that as well. So here we go. Ready? Let's talk about the HHS OCR. They dropped the appeal, right?
The court said, HIPAA say what?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, I can only speculate. That's what we can do unless there's an official announcement. But it almost feels like when it comes to this website tracking stuff, they have to sit down and, everybody's like, well, that law is so old. And I'm like, yeah, and that's why everything keeps changing, and they still have to sit down and figure out how does it apply to this brand new thing. Because website tracking was not like a big thing that was happening in 96,
No.
2000, 2003. It's finally starting to come, but it's certainly nothing where you could envision how PHI would be part of it. And now you just have to assume that PHI is always part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it for me anyway, I look at it, it was like I had somebody say, because we put in like an employee level thing that says, just assume that all data that you're dealing with is PHI. And they're like, well, that's too broad. And I'm like, okay, but the people that know how to narrow that stuff down are not your frontline employees.
That's true.
Right? So they don't, so you just tell them a blanket thing, you assume everything's PHI. You don't get to decide. Other people decide. And, the people that have been trained to decide are the ones that get to decide. So it's like that when they have to sit down and go, well, is this PHI? Let's all sit around and talk about it. But the interesting thing here is you read the headline, OCR drops appeal of court's web tracking ruling. But just the one piece, the ruling covered just the IP address, not the whole web tracking guidance. And that's where I think people are going to get in trouble. They're going to say, oh, so now we don't have to worry about this web tracking thing anymore. But that's not what happened. All they said was the IP address isn't necessarily considered PHI in the web tracking part. Even though the IP address is listed as the thing you would have to remove to make it not be PHI.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that one of the identifiers? I know it is. It's a rhetorical question.
Rhetorical. But that's that whole loop, yes. And they're like, well, it says right here you'd have to remove it, and it's not being removed. So, but the big thing is that same piece of, yes, the IP address is PHI if it's tied to medical information. An IP address by itself is not PHI. And that's where the whole big discussion comes in is there enough information in this tracking stuff that would make it be considered PHI? That is where it ends. The question is it tied to medical data? So if you've got other data in that tracking, now you've got a whole new ballgame. So the only thing they're not arguing is, IP address by itself is not PHI.
Okay.
They're just that one little piece. It's not the relief that many people thought when they heard about or read about it. So if this is an area that you work in, like you sell those services or you manage those things, I strongly encourage you to go read and understand that ruling that the AHA, in their case, has gotten, that they're like, OCR's like, all right, great.
I'm waiting to see one that says, we don't give a crap. Never have we did before, and we don't now. Nobody's going to say that, I wish somebody would be honest. Like, what? I didn't give a crap about that data until just now.
I thought I was doing enough. That was it.
Now I realize I was wrong.
We're good with that. We're not going to argue that point. So that one's going to be interesting to continue to watch. And again, to run a business today without web tracking, it's so complicated to know how to make sure that you're doing the right things. Yeah.
Yeah. For those that are doing healthcare marketing and things like that, I don't exactly know how they're getting around that.
Yeah. Well, it's very, very specific how you have to do it. And you have to make sure that you have a very narrow guideline that you follow. But it's doable, but you can't just willy-nilly start grabbing stuff.
I just get my patients to sign a form that says I can do whatever I want to.
I would like for you to sign this form that says HIPAA laws don't apply anymore. And there were people in the beginning that would do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you can't do that. But that being said, let's talk about just how many attacks are going on.
Yeah. We've always said it's not going to get better. before it gets worse. The problem is, like, every time we think it's kind of as bad as it's going to get, it just keeps getting worse. I was like, oh, geez.
Yeah, you just slide through the list go to, like, any of the data breach tracking sites, any, data breach today, whatever site you go to, and you just kind of scroll through it, my little wheel on my mouse, this many patients, I knew this many, blah, blah. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not seeing that, you're seeing a warning about the new cybersecurity gang or the new cyber attack gang or the ransomware gang and what they're doing. So it's a plethora of just stuff coming at us. And that's when, and we've talked before about how these business associates may not recognize just how important their work is. Right? It's just, if you've got this much data, now it goes back to the national public data folks, which,
yeah, there is that.
So this one comes out of, this was and there's a lot of things that are happening, and this is not the only one that I'm wondering what's going to happen because of what's happening. I know that sounds like a loop, and it is, but this is out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Specialty Networks is a company that provides radiology information systems, digital transcription services, and enterprise practice management solutions for medical facilities. That's what they say they are.
Mm-hmm.
Out of Chattanooga. Oh, look, we didn't even have to leave the Southeast again. And so they've done this announcement that came out, staggered over August. About 411,037 people. 411037 that they had on file. But it's about a hack last December. That's what I said.
That was a while.
Yeah, so they reported to HHS August 15th for something that happened December 11th is when they found it December 18th. I'm thinking that's more than 60 days.
Let's see. Carry the one. Yes. And there's a lot more than 60 days.
A whole lot more. On December 11th, 2023, a threat actor acquired some data stored within their systems, is what it says.
I'm impressed that they found it in a week. That's impressive.
Well, that's good. That means, something worked. Their detections at least worked, but it was, after the damage was done.
Oh, they didn't notify the healthcare providers until June.
Yes, that's what I'm getting to.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So December 18th, they notice it. They took steps to secure the network and engage digital forensic and incident response firm to conduct an investigation. And then they say they knew data was removed, that somebody had acquired some data on December 11th. Now, that comprehensive review of the potentially affected data on May 31st, they determined some personal and PHI may have been affected. That's
a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I know. I know these things take a long time, but if you knew they got data, you should go ahead and tell people it's happened.
I mean, that's part of your business associate agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say wait until you have all the details and then tell us.
Right. But that's the way. So I don't understand. So May 31st, they figure out, they say, they didn't know until May 31st, which is in my experience, and I've seen these things take place where everybody's trying to avoid admitting that this has occurred because nobody wants to. I mean, who would want to say, "Yep, we definitely got a data breach. Let's get out there and start telling everybody."
let's get out in front of this thing early.
Nobody wants to do that.
No.
And so,
But even after May 31, it still took them 25 days.
Yeah. They had time to be ready the minute they knew. There's just too many things I have questions about.
Yeah. This is interesting.
Yeah. So, and then the information contained name, date of birth, driver's license number. This is why I do not let them copy my driver's license anymore. Social security number. I do not give them the social security numbers anymore. Medical record number, treatment and condition information, diagnoses, medications, and health. So they got everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how could you not know that was happening and wait until you had absolute confirmation?
Well, they are offering a 12 months complimentary identity and credit monitoring service 6 months after the fact.
Yeah.
Golly, man.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Now, in the last 2 weeks of this article, once the news started hitting, they've already been hit with at least 4 proposed class action lawsuits that have been filed in court in Tennessee.
Ouch. Well, there's your reason for taking so long.
Yeah, but I think it is only going to make it worse.
Yeah, it is, because it's bad enough that it happened, and you're a victim, right? It's one of those things where it sucks. You're a victim, whether you did everything right before left a boom or not.
Yeah.
You're still a victim, but how you handle it after that is going to be defining.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And again, you prepare left of boom for what you're going to do right of boom.
Mm-hmm. That's why you buy a bunch of toilet paper.
Stock up, because there's going to be a lot going on for a while. I just have so many questions. And we're seeing this a lot, where there's, 6 months, not 60 days, 6 months from a business associate identifying it and telling the covered entity.
Yeah, and that's not even letting the patients know.
Right.
And we've already talked before that they want to bring the reporting period down to 30 days.
Yeah. Well, and some of these other, some of the state rules and some of this other stuff has it down that low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, I see here in the article, as of Tuesday, the Special Networks hack ranks among the 25 largest health data breaches reported so far this year to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Wow.
Yes. Yeah. And this, by the way, because I try to say where we're getting, because we get them from so many different places. This one is Data Breach Today article on the topic from September 3rd. So there you go. But they also go on to say that 471 major breaches were reported so far to HHS. I remember it wasn't that long ago that they thought they might get 350, in a year, and blew past that. 471, and we're still in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean we're on track to 600.
Easy. And we're hitting the worst time of the year for them. So, but the thing is that some of these are old. So here we have this one being reported, and it's 471 major breaches affecting 54.1 million individuals when they pulled this number for this article. I guarantee you that number's higher right now. If you go to the OCR reporting tool, the website, and pull the numbers. Now, here's the kicker, though. of those, 159 of the 471 major breaches. So we're not even calling anything less than 500, remember. Not in this number. So including this one, so 471, 159 of them were linked to business associates.
Ooh, not good.
That accounted for 22.8 million of the 54.1 million. So what we're saying here is business associates are responsible, involved in somehow 34% of all large breaches reported so far this year.
And they also have more records that get breached.
Mm-hmm. So,
in by percentage.
Yeah. So 34% accounts for almost 50% of the total people.
Yep.
So look, if you're not worried about your supply chain, you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
That's not, this is, and it's multi-level. I'm not saying that no one's ever going to get hit. We all know it's not if, it's when, and you've got to constantly be on guard. That's not the problem. The problem is this 6 months. And, here we don't, this happened in December and we're not getting notifications out to patients until August. And the covered entities weren't even told until June.
Yeah.
There's a much bigger issue there that you're like, going through life thinking everything's okay when your data is out there floating around. And the covered entities business is going to get hit. They don't have time to prepare. It's just, there's too many things that don't make sense in this case, and it's not the only one.
Yeah, so, you do have to wonder why the decision was made to not notify for so long.
Yeah, and like I said, they're not the only ones. It's not like they're an outlier. We're seeing this a lot. These delays.
Well, we can make some assumptions. We can assume, like you said, nobody wants to do this. And so there's got to get the lawyers involved and have all your I's dotted and T's crossed, and then prepare for the fallout that's going to happen. You're probably prepared for the fact that you're going to be losing revenue because clients are going to drop you. I mean, there's a lot, I would think. What is your insurance going to cover? Can we buy insurance now and not say that we? Oh man, I don't know. It's kind of like anything else that's bad. Like there's never a good time for it. There's never a good time for a breach. There's never a good time for a breach notification. No. In fact, I think I've got breach notification fatigue at this point. I got a letter in the mail last week and I didn't even read it. It's like, whatever.
There's just so many.
Just another breach notification letter. Really. It's just, okay. I've done all I can possibly do already for breaches. It's just another company says my data got out.
So should we just take away the requirement to notify? What do you think about that?
No, I don't think so, because there's always going to be somebody that's not been through that before, or that still hasn't yet done anything to protect themselves.
Oh, that's true.
But I think if you've already done all you can do with every bit of information you can possibly protect, there's not any more I can do except know that this vendor or supply chain vendor, because in this case, it was somebody who had the data from an insurance company that I dealt with years ago. I don't even know who the vendor was. Like I get the letter and I'm like, I don't know who this is. Oh, we're contacting you because, we were with XYZ Insurance. So yeah, your name, your email address, your social security number, all the normal, the usual suspects. It's like I've done everything I can do. It's just, thanks for telling me. I can jump on that class action lawsuit and get $14.23.
I know. The lawyers are making a killing and nobody's making much of anything on these.
So I don't know. I just don't know what else other than just knowing about it. There's no other actions that I can take as the victim of the breach.
at this point, but you do the things to monitor, protect, all of that a lot of people don't. So I see your point of, yeah, the notifications need to happen. Well, and they also need to happen so that I know who to question about their commitment to protect my data.
Mm-hmm.
Because you read some of those letters and you can tell it's kind of like, our bad, oopsie.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes a difference as far as who I decide to continue to do business with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't make a difference to me, and certainly not suggesting they don't notify. It doesn't make a difference to me as far as any actions I need to take to protect myself anymore. But it does make me think, okay, do I continue to do business with this company? Do I not? And all that really comes down to how are they going to handle the next steps?
Mm-hmm.
What are they going to do next? And we've seen that a lot in technology vendor breaches where we've had to question, okay, do we just uproot everything? Because changing a lot of this stuff is very painful.
Yes.
So, do we change? Do we not change? And in some cases, I've changed not because a product is necessarily any worse or better or anything. It's just public opinion on it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't continue to sell this because it has a tarnished brand at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And it creates a very tricky business situation. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
So there's just, I don't know. There's too many of these happening where there's such a gap in the notification process that, I don't see how, honestly, in these big ones, you could be notified in 60 days. I mean, these big ones, they're not easy. I'm not saying that, but what I have an issue with is that the covered entities weren't told in a reasonable amount of time. I think that's
without undue delay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I have so many questions, and maybe there are reasons. I don't know, but I would address that delay, and they didn't.
Let's see here. When they did say they notified the FBI.
Yeah.
Because, law enforcement can tell you not to do something.
Yeah, but they didn't say that.
No, they didn't. I was trying to see if I had a date when they notified it. I don't see it.
It just said they had.
Yep. They reported against the FBI. So, yeah, I don't know. We can only speculate. So, but my opinion, either the FBI said don't notify right now because there's something bigger, or their counsel said, look, it's going to be bad that you don't notify, but it's the better option.
Yeah. So, and they do, the obligatory Specialty Networks takes the privacy and security of all information within its possession very seriously.
Well, I'm sure they do.
Yeah. I'm not saying they don't. We know we're going to see that in every one of these announcements.
I'm waiting to see one that says, we don't give a crap. Never have we did before, and we don't now.
Yeah. Well,
nobody's going to say that. I wish somebody would be honest. Like, what? I didn't give a crap about that data until just now.
I thought I was doing enough. That was it.
Now I realize I was wrong.
I was wrong. I thought that we had an antivirus and that was enough. Sorry, my bad. But you can't. Anyway,
yeah, but you know what? I would admire that more than we take it seriously. If somebody were just like, what? I just thought I was good, and here's the reasons why.
Yeah,
I mean, I would still say, come on now, but I would appreciate the honesty.
Exactly, and you see that occasionally, but it's generally a small business owner with small business clients. But, it is a problem. It is clear that the supply chain needs to be something where you need to understand, are you going to let me know? What if I was making business decisions in March, having no idea I was going to be dealing with this in August? But the business decision I made in March would have been different had I already known. that
Yeah,
this was
like a merger and acquisition.
Yeah, any number of business decisions were being made when they had to have been almost certain. They just couldn't, well, we don't know the exact data. Yeah, but we know there was some data, and we know where they got it, and we know what data was there. So,
well, I don't want to speak for forensics or this particular forensics, whoever did what. Mm-hmm. I know when I do, and I'm not a forensics person, company, whatever, we do some very basic forensic stuff. And I know for us, it's a matter of, let's look at what we can look at within a certain reasonable time frame, then decide whether or not to keep digging.
Right.
And so usually you can pick up enough within a small time frame to go, yeah, we're going to have to keep digging. So you might as well get ready. It's not looking good.
Yeah. Well, and I've been in those discussions where you say, yeah, we know we've got a problem, so we need to start letting people know. Let my business partners know. Something, not just blindside them. And maybe they did. It doesn't say that they had been talking to them, and it's we talked to them in June, and in June they said, yeah, you go notify. We're not doing it, which is all good, but then they used 60 days. Those things didn't go out until it was almost 60 days after that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway. They're like, well, now we got 60 days to do it.
Maybe we'll hear more about this.
I don't know. Maybe. It's over 50. If it's 500 or more, you're getting investigated. So somebody's being investigated. But as you're reading through, you see that it's not just supply chain stuff. Yes, it's a big number of supply chains. But there's all kinds of notices about data breaches all over the place. And, the ransomware gangs, HC3 is sending out a ton of notifications about, hey, here's an advisory about this ransomware gang or that ransomware gang. And so those are all coming out. But then we see an article. This one, I don't know. I picked it up from Bank Info Security. It's that same group of publications. Nothing to smile about. Hacks on dental practices swell. First of all, whoever came up with that headline, maybe it was AI, but hacks swell. Come on now, dentists.
I would say getting dentists to do cybersecurity is like pulling teeth.
Yeah. The article does talk about multiple attacks on different, whether it be a large parent company or an independent practice. And, there's a oral maxillofacial surgeon they mentioned. It's a ton all in that same area. But you're right. We've talked about this before. We've talked with many IT people. We've talked with a whole litany of different people who do. This is just a known across the board. And I've had the conversations that in the dental market, they literally say, I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing enough. Whatever that is enough. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And that we've heard it too many times. I've personally heard it. And we've heard plenty of people tell us that it's widespread. Now, it may be improving slightly because so many have been hit in the last few years. But overall, I haven't heard that's changing, that there's any move in that.
No, the chatter around IT and MSP communities and the forums that I'm in, it's not changed. It's the same. Everybody says the same thing, really.
Yeah.
So
this article, they were interviewing probably an MSP, I don't recall, but in the article, they were recommending, guess what? Doing the CPGs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, which is, by the way, the CPGs are doing HICCUP, which then is recognized security practices, which is something that we've been talking about since, I don't know, we've been talking about HICCUP since 2019.
Wow, has it been that long?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2020, 2021, because I joined up with the 405D group in 2019 and it came out 2018.
Yeah.
So anyway, there we have it. It is important to understand that it doesn't matter what your business is anymore. You're a target, and it doesn't matter what size of it. I mean, I even had somebody that they're like, wow, they're really small. I thought that didn't really happen. And I'm like, it does not matter. It does not matter. You just don't hear about them. So when we know we've got all of this coming together, and we know we've got, constant alerts about these different gangs that are like, these two have merged together to make a new one and all of this. And we've got these announcements being made of breaches that occurred almost a year ago. And we're headed into the worst period for cyber attacks that we ever have every year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to add in where we've already the GRU, the Russian cyber attack part of the military, the nation state supported Russian entity that we've talked about many times and discussed the different attacks and ransomware that they use. And, they use the money to further themselves and wreak havoc. Well, we've got them, we've got the election that they're interested in, just causing all kinds of trouble. Normally, that just gives them another reason. We got the holidays where everybody knows, hey, we're all busy worried about shopping and turkey and having the 14th little potluck in between November and December. And those are all fine and good, but we need to understand that while we're doing that, they know we're doing that and not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
So here's your annual warning.
Early.
Because I feel like it's going to be worse based on what we're seeing. And it's not like worse is dramatically different. It's always bad. So just start now making sure that you just pound it into everything that you're doing and everyone that you're working with. We must remain vigilant. We must be diligent. And I have to be very focused and I don't mix up those words.
I was waiting on it.
I know.
Yes. So this article, there's a Kate Borton in this article, president of privacy and security consulting firm, the Marblehead Group. So she's quoted as saying, dental practices typically don't have robust security controls. So there you go. They rely on third parties for much of their technology, including security, sometimes with low budgets and limited oversight. Yeah. Well, I mean, relying on your third parties is what they should do, but having low budgets and limited oversight, that basically means, we can't afford that. I know we need it. We just can't afford it.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
Staff and small practices often don't receive extensive security and privacy training. Security is unlikely to be anywhere near the top of mind in day-to-day operations, leading to phishing vulnerabilities in email and password management weaknesses. I mean, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Yeah. Well, and it is interesting in the article they point out that that one big chunk of them was limited to our Microsoft 365 cloud environment. Because we're in the cloud, we don't have to worry about cybersecurity.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I get it, but I just don't think cybersecurity, doing something is not too expensive. I understand if you can't do everything.
Right.
You can't throw the whole kitchen sink at the problem. That's fine, and that's normal for small business. But to say we just don't have any money to put toward security, I mean, I bet you they have somebody walk in their door every single day that says, I don't have the money to put toward my dental care.
Yeah.
But they find a way to do it. You'll be amazed how resourceful you are when something comes up that you have to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah. And we, I get it, but they would be the first ones nagging you about getting something done with your teeth, and to make sure. And the question always becomes, how far are you willing to let it go before you deal with it? It's like the plumber.
Yeah. Until it gets too painful.
Yeah.
It's like I saw an IT company recently on their website. It was like when the pain of not doing something becomes greater than the pain of doing it.
That's true. I think you're right. Well then.
So, yeah. That's what it is.
Well, hopefully it doesn't become too painful.
Put some Novocaine on that thing. Oh man. But the problem is, especially for the small providers, is that it can sink your practice.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you've got insurance that covers the breach and all that, just the damage, to your brand and everything else, it's going to be significant.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand if you have insurance, but why not try to prevent it in the first place? Yeah. And even if you don't prevent it, it's going to put you in a much better and more defensible position so that your insurance covers more and you're able to stand there and say, we did everything we possibly could do.
Yeah.
And it still happened. I mean, again, like I said earlier, what they do after boom, right a boom, is the determining factor on whether or not I find another provider or vendor.
Yeah. And that's the key. That has to do with your incident response plan, your notification plan, all of those things. Absolutely imperative to get that done left a boom.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It hurts a whole lot less to learn from other people's mistakes. So that's why we tell these stories. Like, just get out there and get it. Get out there and make it happen. Call somebody, ask them what you can do, figure out what you can afford, start somewhere, and grab those recognized security practices, take a look at them, see what you can do. Mm-hmm. Not all of them cost money. Some of them is just a process you need to follow. Figure out what you can do. But to your point earlier, I was actually giving a talk recently at a group of business owners, and most of them, when I started talking about ransomware and all the stuff that happened and the NPD breach that just happened, there was most of them who sit there and said, but what are we supposed to do? Now that this has happened to us, what are we supposed to do? So there's still so many people out there that have no idea how to protect themselves before it happens or what they should do in response to it after it happens. No matter how much we shout it from the hilltops, there's still a ton of people who have no clue.
Yeah. So we're doing our part. That's all we can do.
Yep. So we'll be here till episode 1000.
It hurts when you do that kind of stuff to me. I'm done now.
Oh man, she's like, I can't put up with you that much longer.
I can't do it. I'm still worried about making it to 500.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah,
just a few weeks.
All right, talk to you next week.
All right, folks, that's our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow us and share us out on your favorite social media site. Give us a rating and review. We appreciate those. Help us to spread the word.
Yes.
And remember, for Donna and myself, that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right. Protect your patients day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with HIPAA. Let's get it right.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.